Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Representatives Baum, Campbell, Camper, Cochran, Faison, Garrett, Hawk, Hazelwood, Love, Moon, Shaw, Whitson, Williams, Chairman Hicks.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much, members. I'd like to call the Finance, Ways and Means Subcommittee to order for April the 18th, 2023. Members, any announcement or personal orders? Hearing none and seeing none. All right, we're going to take up the first calendar on our calendar today is going to be I've said that 3 times. The regular calendar. We have 26 bills on that calendar, including the addendum calendar. Now, following this calendar, then we'll take up the remaining calendars, which is the driver's license calendar, the behind the budget calendar, and then the special calendar. So that'll kind of be the flow which we hope to go. All the bills that will be moving out from this committee will be going to full committee soon thereafter this committee ends. Also, bills that are not taken up on any of these calendars, once we finish that particular calendar, all those bills will be taken off notice at that point. So with that, let's get started. Item number 1 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1444 by Leader Lamberth. You have a motion and a second. Leader, I have an amendment drafting code 007464. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We have a motion and a second. You want to discuss the amendment, or you want to put it onto the bill and talk the bill as a whole?
It makes the bill, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to put it on first.
All right, let's do that then. Members, any discussion on the amendment 007464? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on that amendment going on to House Bill 1444. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. Leader, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is somewhat of an omnibus bill. It covers a couple of technical changes within the code that are important, one of which deals with kind of a remnant in the code that would allow for one county to have a penalty that was reduced from every other county on DUI, so they could do 200 hours community service instead of the 48 hours in jail. I don't think that's fair. If there's a mandatory minimum out there across the state, it should apply to every county evenly. There's also an aspect of this that when we did the Truth in Sentencing bill, there was a type of vehicular homicide that was left out, and that's vehicular homicide where someone kills someone else in a vehicle and then leaves the scene. This would put that within that Truth in Sentencing at 100% if they are sentenced to a prison sentence. And then the third thing this does is we passed a bill earlier in the year that dealt with ladders falling off of vehicles. What we didn't include was other hard debris. And so this just kind of cleans that up and ensures that other hard debris, and we're very careful about this. A member mentioned that one of the earlier amendments could have included like rocks, mud, like small amounts of things. This is hard debris. So we're talking, somebody loses a table out of the back end of their vehicle and it hits another vehicle. They would potentially have a C misdemeanor. So it's like a speeding ticket, but it would allow an officer to address that issue. That's what it does.
All right. Thank you, Leader. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1444. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1444, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1444 moves to full finance. All right, that brings us to item number 2 on our calendars, House Bill 403 by Leader Lamberth. We have a motion to second. Looks like we have an amendment 007535. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
All right, you have a motion and a second on the amendment. You want to discuss the amendment, or do you want to put that one on?
Mr. Chairman, it rewrites the bill if you'd like to put it on.
All right, thank you. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on Amendment 7535 to House Bill 403. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Many of y'all helped work on this for about 2 years. Several years ago, we made it legal for folks to derive products from hemp. Not marijuana, but hemp, and we were very specific in the code as to what that was. Since that time, technology has changed a bit, and many of the products that were derived from hemp, Delta 8, you've heard of out there, are extremely potent. They're, in fact, dangerous for children. We are seeing overdoses. These are not products that should be in the hands of children. Many of these products are much more powerful, quite frankly, than marijuana that you've heard about your whole life or alcohol. So there's no regulations on that whatsoever. A 7-year-old could walk into a grocery store or a gas station and buy these products and have very detrimental effects. So this bill puts guardrails on all of that. It puts the proper taxes in place. It puts the proper regulations and testing. And for adults that wish to partake in these products, it makes sure that there is going to be rules and regulations and labeling and packaging so that people actually know what they're buying. That's another problem right now, is there are people that are buying these products, and one day they may purchase something that has one effect and the other day have a drastically different effect. So that's in essence what the bill does, and the most latest amendment really deals with when the different rules would be promulgated and when they would go into effect over really about the next year and a half.
All right. Thank you very much, Leader, for this description on House Bill 403. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 403, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 403 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
you,
members
Lee.
of the committee.
All right. That brings us to item number 3 on our calendar. It's going to be House Bill 952 by Chairman Boyd. We have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Since 2019, the Certificate of Need Reform Working Group has been meeting to make recommendations for how to reform Tennessee's Certificate of Need process. One of those recommendations is what this bill does. It consolidates the Health Facilities Commission, which is essentially the Certificate of Need Board, with the Board of Licensing and Healthcare Facilities into one board that will be called the Health Facilities Commission. Mr. Chairman, I'll take any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Boyd. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 952. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 952, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 952 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
Thank you, Chairman. All right, members, let's go to item number 5 on our calendar. Item number 5 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 472 by Chairman Crawford.
471, sir.
472.
Okay. All right. This bill here is the.
We have a motion to second. You have a motion to second. You recognize, sir.
This bill here is the dog bill. That's what it's been referred to. This is to make sure that dogs receive adequate shelter in the summertime as well as in the wintertime. It does have an amendment on it that excludes livestock and farm animals. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Crawford. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 472. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 472, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 472 moves to full finance.
Thank you, committee.
Thank you, Chairman. All right, that brings us, members, to item number 6. Item number 6 is going to be House Bill 250 by Chairman Haston. You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill would extend the Tennessee Work Ready Opportunity Program that the General Assembly passed in 2021. This bill would continue to make available the ability for our high school seniors to take a nationally recognized career readiness assessment that directly connects our students to Tennessee businesses and the Tennessee workforce. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 250. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 250, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 250 moves to full finance. Thank you, Chairman. Brings us to item number 7 on our calendars, House Bill 1072 by Chairman Haston. Do we have a motion? We have a motion to second. Chairman, it looks like we have a drafting code, an amendment drafting code 007345 that rewrites the bill. You're recognized, sir.
I believe, is this the one that I don't know if we have to run this amendment? I think is this the one that we do need to run this amendment?
Yep, this is the one we do
Okay.
need to run.
All right, yeah, 7345 is what I had.
Okay, 7345. We have a motion and a second. It does rewrite the bill, so we will get it on to the original bill, and then we'll let you describe it. So any discussion on the amendment? Question's been called. Any objection to calling the question? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on the amendment drafting code 007345 on the House Bill 1072. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you. Most of you all are probably familiar with the Veteran Honor Guard groups that work in your area. You've probably seen them perform their duties at veteran funeral services or Veterans Day programs, Memorial Day events. Most of these Veteran Honor Guard groups have a very bare bones budget. What this bill does is establish the Veterans Honor Guard grant program that would allow for our Honor Guard groups to apply for grant funds to reimburse them for costs associated with the Honor Guard duties. And I'll just say this, I appreciate, we've had a lot of members get on behind this, and I couldn't have done this by myself. It's gotten a lot of momentum from a lot of members. I just appreciate the support on this bill. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Chairman Hasty. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chairman, for bringing this. I know this has been a problem. Now, will this will cover all of their expense, because we don't know how many funerals and things they'll have, but they can apply each time or for the year. How will it work?
Chairman Hasty.
Thank you. There's about 70 to 76 honor guards throughout the state. This is just a drop in the bucket for what they do. Right now they get no support really from the state. I mean, it's off of donations and this will just be up to probably around $900 to $1,000 that they can apply for to help with their costs, which won't cover anywhere close to what most of their costs would be, but it does help some.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this. Thank you.
All right, further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 1072. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1072, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1072 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Thank you. Brings us to item number 8 on our calendar. Item number 8 is House Bill 1476 by Chairman Hulsey. You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. Is there an amendment that goes on this?
It is traveling, sir. You're good to go.
Okay, thank you. This came out of the ad hoc meeting we had this past summer dealing with sentencing credits for inmates in the penitentiaries. And what this bill says is that for an inmate to receive sentencing credits, he has to complete a department-approved validated risk and needs assessment and then participate in the programming or employment that comes out of that assessment.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Hulsey. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1476. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1476, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1467 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman.
1476. Let me make sure I said that correctly. House Bill 1476 moves to full finance. All right. That brings us to item number 9 on our calendar. Chairman Kumar. I did not see the chairman, so without objection, we will roll him to the heel of this calendar. Without objection, so moved. Brings us to item number 11. Item number 11 on our calendars, House Bill 398 by Chairlady Littleton. You have a motion to second. You are recognized, Chairlady, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill requires a court to order a mental health evaluation and treatment for juveniles who commit aggravated animal cruelty to domesticated cat or dog, and authorizes a court to punish a parent or guardian in contempt of court for failure to comply with the required court order.
All right. Thank you, Chairlady. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 398. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 398, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 398 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Committee.
Thank you. Item number 12 on our calendars, House Bill 432 by Chairman White. You have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. This legislation creates a last dollar scholarship for prospective educators that covers the cost of tuition and mandatory fees for our undergraduate juniors and seniors that are planning on being teachers. And with that, I renew my motion.
All right. Thank you, Chairman White. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 432. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 432, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 432 moves to full finance. All right. That brings us to item All right, members, that brings us to item number 13, House Bill 1150 by Chairman White. You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman. In December of 2022, the Department of Education received a federal grant called the Preschool Development Grant. And what we're doing is this is a $4 million one-year grant. This bill codifies exactly how that money is to be used as we analyze preschool education in Tennessee.
All right, thank you very much, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1150. Any discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the bill. Is there expected to be some type of report? Is there expected to be some type of formal report back to this body with this bill?
Chairman White.
Back to this bio well, it says the Tennessee Department of Education will implement a pilot program to award the grant funds to 5 LEAs to implement the innovative and high-quality preschool programs for 23-24 school year, and then they will assess the effects of the program. So yes, we'll eventually get this back to us.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion, House Bill 1150. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1150, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1150 moves to full finance. That brings us to item number 14 on our calendar. It's going to be House Bill 1025 by Chairman Butler. We have a motion and a second. You have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you. This legislation simply creates the Tennessee Historical Monuments and Memorials Commission to hear the waivers under the Tennessee Historical Preservation Act.
All right. Thank you, Representative Butler, very much. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1025. Any discussion on House Bill 1025? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1025, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1025 moves to full finance.
Thank you, committee.
Thank you. Item number 16. Again, we're going to item number 16 on our calendar. It's going to be House Bill 1279 by Representative Davis. You have a motion and a second. It looks like you have an amendment drafting code 005899 that actually rewrites the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. You have a motion and a second on the amendment. Let's get the amendment on, then we'll let you describe the bill. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on Amendment 005899 on to House Bill 1279. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. In 2009, the General Assembly passed legislation to give Metro Nashville authority to use their sales tax revenues in the downtown district to build a convention center. The legislation set up a board of directors appointed by the mayor to oversee the use of these funds. And in the last 14 years, this tax revenue that has been generated by the downtown district has brought an unprecedented amount of revenue for Nashville. So much so that Metro Nashville has been abusing this special tax status, and they have repeatedly raided those funds that were supposed to go for paying the convention center and diverted them to the general fund for the city. This bill simply clarifies the intent of the original law by stating that excess tax revenues shall only be used for prepayment or elimination of the debt service, payment of capital expenses for the facility, payment of operating expenses, including the payment of expenses for cleanliness, safety, and maintenance of the qualified public use of the facility or qualified associated development, and the funding of the cash reserves for those expenses. This bill will also add the state comptroller, state treasurer, and secretary of state to the board as non-voting members.
All right. Thank you very much, members. You've heard the description of House Bill 1025. Before we go into the discussion, we do have some folks on the list to testify. I'm going to ask, I have Mr. Bill Bradley. I'm going to ask him to come forward if he would like to testify. And please come to, we'll ask you to come to my left, your right. Okay. And then I'm going to also ask the comptroller's office. I think you all are wanting to come up, so as soon as Mr. Bradley finishes, we'll have questions for him, and then you guys will be coming up. At this time, without objection, we are going to go out of session. Without objection, we're now out of session. Please state your name and your affiliation, sir. Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Bill Bradley, a resident of Davidson County. I want to say that I believe that the Convention Center Authority, under current law, has followed the letter of the law. There's been some discussion of the spirit of the law. I don't see that laid out in print in the law, and I am prepared to discuss with you how I think they have followed the letter of the law. The bill, as amended, I think, is a little unclear about the uses of the excess revenues, and I'm prepared to discuss that. If you'd care to hear about that. I think, for example, that under current law, the authority has been able to use money to promote tourism and tourist-related activities that are not directly associated with facilities. but are more general matters. I think it's a little unclear whether that's now outlawed. What is clear is that you are prohibiting payments in lieu of taxes, which have been an irritation to you. The other matters over which I'm concerned is that any capital outlay plan that in aggregate exceeds $25 million in any fiscal year would require the approval of the Commissioner of Finance and Administration of state government in order for the plan to be implemented. That's not a normal relationship between state and local governments. It, in effect, gives one person, one state official, veto power over a capital outlay plan approved by a 9-member board. No one can override the decision. He, in effect, becomes a one-member capital outlay board. I also think that it is unusual for the state funding board to be able to make decisions of a local board on long-term debt issuance. There are instances where the controller's office or the funding board has to approve some short-term debt things and even long-term balloon debt, but it's my understanding that local governments generally do not have to get approval of the state for issuance of long-term debt, with the exception I mentioned. I think the putting the constitutional officers on the board of directors as non-voting members is unnecessary. It basically is a heavy-handed way for state officials to lean on local board members to direct the decisions.
Mr. Bradley, if you'll just finish up your final thought, please.
Yes, sir. And that those are basically the points I wanted to raise, and should there be any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bradley. Members, any questions for our guest? Let's go to Chairman Williams.
Thank you. I'll just back on the bill when we go back out of session.
Okay. Leader Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned something about the pilot dollars, the payment in lieu of taxes. You had some concern around that?
Well, I'm not particularly concerned about that. It certainly will be something that Metro central government can no longer have availability of. But in my look at the financial statements and other information I had from the Music City Center, I think there's been some $113 million provided to Metro by the authority under various memoranda of understanding and the so-called pilot agreement, payment in lieu of taxes. Now, the way I look at it, approximately $50 million of the MOU money was for specific tourism-related purposes, which is allowable under current tax law. About $63 million of it was unspecified as to use by the authority. Metro had reasons, some reasons for which they were budgeting the money, but you know, I think that $63 million is probably mostly the rub here. But I think it's clear under the amendment as drafted that pilot could not be done. Now, I think, in my view, and I'll take a moment to tell you why, if you'll allow me. I believe it was entirely legal to make the pilot payments, and that is because, and I'm paraphrasing in part and quoting in part, law at Tennessee Code annotated 7-89-118, which provides that under current law, it actually requires the Convention Center Authority to pay any available net earnings to the organizing municipality after recognizing, in the view of the Board of Directors, that sufficient provision is made for full, quote, full payment of expenses, bonds, and other obligations of the authority, including reserves for the expenses, bonds, and other obligations, end quote, and a, quote, reserve for depreciation of any project or projects, end quote, of the authority in an amount determined by the board to be necessary and reasonable. So there are specific provisions in the tax laws of the various taxes involved in funding the operation as to what the money can be used for. Some of it can be used for debt service, but not other things. Some of it can be used for debt service and other things. The operating revenues of the authority are unrestricted. That is, the earnings they make from fees for using the facility, parking, and the like, those are unrestricted. And the sales tax that's collected on campus at the Music City Center is unrestricted. So I believe it seems to me there was plenty of room in current law for what the authority and Metro Central Government did in regard to the memorandum of understanding and the pilots.
Okay.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That answered my question.
Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bradley, thanks for being here. Are you aware how much debt is there on Music City Center?
The debt, the long-term debt is $548 million currently, the principal balance. It began at $623 million in bond issuance.
And you mentioned that we have $63 million of unspecified spending.
I said, yes, what I was referring to the provision of money directly to Metro government through the pilots and MOUs, yes.
Thank you. I'm all for paying off debt as quickly as possible. I'm interested to see what our comptroller has to say. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Hawk.
All right, further questions for our guest? If not, Mr. Bradley, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your testimony.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask our comptroller's office to come up, and you know the drill. If you'll just introduce yourselves. You have time for a 3-minute opening statement, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Jason Mumpower, Comptroller. With me, our great Comptroller Emeritus, Justin Wilson, and Rachel Buckley, General Counsel in the Comptroller's office. It's great to be able to be here. I think we're here more to answer questions you may have than make a statement. But what I can tell you about this bill is that we have worked with the sponsor, both in the House and the Senate, over the last several weeks. This bill has already passed the Senate. And from where this bill began, it is now in a shape where we can ensure there is no monetary default of any debt through this organization. There'll be no technical default of debt through this organization. We believe there could be as much as $100 million that has gone to the Metro government and been spent on things other than this center. There's no doubt this center has been very successful, and there is no doubt that without the legislature having created the ability for this to exist back in 2009, it would not exist today. And so it's impossible to say that it's not proper for this legislature who created this entity and the setup for it to continue to revisit it occasionally to see how things are going. In 2009, of course, I was still a member of the House of Representatives. Justin Wilson was in his first term as comptroller, and he was very instrumental in the legislation that helped create it. So, Justin, unless you have anything to add right now, members, we're most available for your questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any questions for our guests? Chairman Williams.
Thank you. Thank you, Comptroller, for being here. I just thank you for coming to answer some questions today. Based upon when the legislature originally enacted this law to allow for Central Business District to be able to collect these additional revenues, the promise was made to the legislature, because I was here. They said, well, we don't have the ability to bond this project unless we have this other source of revenue. We've had these sources of revenue before this committee and the full committee and other entities across the state, and even last year. So, do you think that by adopting this bill in the House and in the Senate, that we're impugning their ability to be able to pay off this debt or to honor that debt?
I would say, as a matter of fact, and I'll ask Comptroller Emeritus Wilson to expand on it, I would say that through this bill, you're probably going to see quicker repayment of the debt, not an impugning of the ability to pay the debt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this bill is correction,
And
Justin Wilson, your beloved has-been. This bill is designed to protect the center, to be sure that the funds are used for the center, its obligations are met. That is exactly what it's designed to do, and I believe it does it.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you. I am in favor of the bill too. I'm glad to hear you come down and communicate about this. I think one of the things is that as there was a challenge in funding this project many years ago, this was a way to do it. Now the monies aren't we're concerned that the monies aren't technically going for the original purpose in which the bill was intended for, and this puts guardrails on it to ensure that those monies are actually spent there. And so I appreciate the Comptroller's office and the work you've done on this bill, and I look forward to seeing its passage. Thank you.
Let me put this in perspective. At the time, in 2009 and 2010, and I was very much involved in this, we projected the amount of money that would be raised by the six revenue streams. Every year since then, they've exceeded that, even during the pandemic, and in most years, they've doubled it. The total amount received from these streams are basically twice of what was anticipated. And there's been no year where there's been any deficit. The question then is whether or not where you want this excess money to go. That's the simple question.
Chairman Williams, do you have anything else? All right, Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we heard earlier $63 million unspecified spending that has come in on these taxes. You've mentioned it could be as much as $100 million. What areas can these dollars be used towards? And I say that understanding and knowing that there's already a citywide hotel, motel taxes and other taxes in place that are generating funds for tourism and other related areas. So is there a definition of what can these funds be used for?
Is your question about as things stand currently or under the bill as proposed?
Both.
Okay.
Let's do currently, and then as the bill is proposed with the extra set of eyes on board with the bill.
Well, or Justin?
Under the existing law, the funds can be spent for any lawful purpose that the city may have. And we don't know exactly how much there is because finding out that the books is certainly in excess of the numbers that the comptroller gave. Under the bill, it requires that the bill be used for the center, for expanding the center, for anything relating to operating the center or make it more efficient, anything really relating to the center. The language is set forth in the bill that can be done, and it's fairly broad. But it can't be used for unrelated expenses. Some of the taxes you referred to, a portion of them are required. Well, for example, hotel motel tax, a portion is required to go to the center, and the other portion just goes to Metro for their general purposes. So it's hard to say exactly where it is because it's hard to determine from the records that are available. We're able to review exactly where every dollar is spent, but that's basically what's happened.
And to add to that, under the terms of the bill, it's important to say that if this bill is adopted, there will be more than enough funds for service of debt. There'll be more than enough funds for operation and maintenance of the facility, and that What will not be allowed anymore is the use of funds for things that are unrelated.
All right, thank you, Chairman Hawk. Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just a general question here. To the best of your knowledge, what generated these funds? What kind of activities?
Tourist-related activities has been extraordinary. Nashville has had an extraordinary boom that's hard to believe since 2000. Well, 2009 was not a good time. Since that time, it's been extraordinarily successful, the tourism industry, and the convention center was a major factor in that, yes.
And going back even deeper in the origin, of course, as I stated, the legislature created or passed legislation back in 2009 that created this zone in which revenues generated would be diverted, and I think that's why my understanding is you're back here today kind of revisiting, because it has generated revenues well in excess of what was necessary.
Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tourism generated the funds. Were there expenses also created that were not maybe directly related to the activity? For example, I've been here a good portion of my whole life. I've watched the downtown area develop. I've also seen an increased law enforcement present downtown to deal with the increased population of people downtown. That's an extra expense that is sort of related to tourism, but not directly related to it, because it's not dealing with the cost of the bond issue. It's not dealing with the maintenance of the building. And so were there other unrelated expenses generated by the influx of people coming to Nashville, to your knowledge?
I understand your question. Let me try to answer it. The convention center, under an agreement with the city of Nashville, entered into a pilot agreement, which is valid, in existence. It currently pays $16 million. Well, last year, we don't know what it is this year. Last year, it pays $16,800,000 for purposes that could very well be this purpose. I mean, normally you have a payment in lieu of taxes is to provide the basic services around the facility, such as police protection and that sort of thing. So this $16.8 million, Metro can, and in my view, should use that for those sort of expenses.
And that's an important point, Mr. Chairman and members. I think we can speak to the pilot question that was asked just a moment ago. But I also want to add, Representative Love, to your question is that under this bill, money can be used for payment of expenses for cleanliness, safety, and maintenance of the qualified public use facility or qualified associated development. So again, and Mr. Chairman, I know Representative Camper previously had a question about the pilot, and Rachel Buckley, our general counsel, may be able to address that if you'd like to hear that too.
Okay.
Rachel Buckley, General Counsel for the Comptroller's Office. Yes, I think there may have been some concern about whether the pilot payments would be allowed under this bill. And yes, they would, because this bill does allow for the convention center to pay for any debt and to pay for any contractual commitments. And a pilot would be a contractual commitment, so that would be an allowed payment under this bill.
And so, to the extent that Representative Love asked about police protection, the Metro government can, will, and as the Comptroller Emeritus said, should perhaps use that money towards law enforcement.
Representative Love.
Thank you for those answers. I live not too far, in a general sense, from the downtown area. what I have noticed in the last 5 to 7 years is an increase of buildings and units constructed that facilitate, and hotels, right? Facilitate people being able to stay there and then travel downtown and other places. I think the difficulty that may be experienced by some is quantifying that outside of that business district, tourism still creates expenses in the city, in neighborhoods, because visitors don't always stay downtown. They travel downtown and spend money downtown, which is why we try to capture those dollars there. But there are other expenses that are incurred by the city and by the neighborhoods that are in close proximity to that area. When you're talking about Germantown and North Nashville and these areas, these are close to downtown. And so for me, that's my concern, is that these expenses that the city may have incurred and neighborhoods may have incurred don't always reflect on the balance sheet of what is an expense downtown. If I'm not mistaken, last year, there was even legislation brought to allow an extra amount of tax to be collected on items like T-shirts sold downtown to specifically allow for cleanup downtown. And so I know that there's a lot of expense downtown, but I do also know that there are other expenses that a city incurs outside of the specific area where those taxes are collected that oftentimes don't reflect on that balance sheet. And part of the challenge and responsibility, I think, of the city is to have that balance, because the neighborhoods get impacted by the traffic. So it's a double-edged sword, right? Because cities want tourist dollars to help offset expenses or to increase growth, and not always put that on the back of their residents. But it does come with a cost. It comes with a cost of traffic congestion. It comes with a cost of increased delays when construction is being prioritized. So those are my concerns. And thank you for answering the question about what could be used in these payments.
And just in response to that, I hear you and certainly understand. I'm not, and I understand that concern. I'm not sure in particular how that necessarily is involved with this bill, because people who stay at Opryland also come downtown, or you know, and this bill is about a specific place. But certainly your concern is in the scope of the city valid.
Representative Love?
Yes, well, my concern was about the effect of the bill now not allowing the city to use it for certain other expenses. And so if there are neighborhood enhancement grants that the city wants to give to help beautify neighborhoods that experience some of this extra growth, that's not allowed under this, is there?
Not in excess of the pilot.
Okay.
No.
All right, thank you.
All right. Chair Lady Hazelwood. Okay. Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Comptroller, and my beloved Comptroller, for being here. I really appreciate you commenting that, and clarifying, I should say, that the funds are being used lawfully, so I really appreciate that. But I got a question about, you said earlier when in 2009, when this was being thought about and created, that the expected resources it's like double, you know, we did not expect to be getting this level of funding. Yep. And so my question is, in a general sense, I think the state of Tennessee have always kind of been very conservative on what we expect the return to be. We've always had this conservative mindset. So I think that that's probably why we estimated it the way that we did, not foreseeing that we was in the middle of a recession. You know, we was hoping that it would be just as successful as it is. So I think it's good that, you know, we maybe underestimated and was able to bring down and bring in and capture more funding than we actually expected. So am I correct in our sense of this conservative view of how we were looking at what we were doing at that time?
From my personal experience, because I was involved in the initial, you're absolutely correct. The city initially came with the projections that I was quite concerned would not adequately support the debt. And while this is not generally a general obligation of the city, it is a revenue bond, and the city's reputation to be in effect. The time that we did this, we attempted to have 105% of the expected cost, and that was the intention. And then that 5% could be used for reserves, or basically, the thought process was all the different things that could happen that you didn't necessarily want to finance. But it's now perhaps twice of what it was. In fact, the estimates, the amount shown in the bond documents and the actual amounts received, there's a difference of over $450 million. $450 million. Now, the city, I mean, the center has over $225,000 in reserves of one sort or another, or cash, or available for other spending. The other money has been spent on a variety of purposes, which the best I can tell are entirely legal, but do not necessarily relate to the center.
Leader Camper.
Thank you for the explanation.
All right. Any other questions for the comptroller? Seeing none, thank you all very much for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Without objection, we will at this time go back into session. Okay, we're back into session. We're back on the bill, and we will go to the sponsor. Representative Davis, any follow-up?
I would just appreciate a favorable vote.
All right. Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to the sponsor, in your opening remarks, you used the word abused when referring to how the city has used the funds, if I'm not mistaken. Abuse is a strong word. And I would just like clarification or explanation of how, when you say abused, that's very strong. And so how has the city abused these funds?
Well, and I appreciate the question.
Recognize.
For me personally, I think as a fiduciary agent, and anytime we take any taxpayer dollars, we have a duty and a responsibility to use those taxpayer dollars wisely. When this was passed in 2009, it was specifically set up, those revenue streams were set up, those privilege taxes were created for that Music City Center. And I feel that obligation needs to go back to the Music City Center. Whenever we tell taxpayers, listen, we're going to add a tax to you, we need to ensure that trust that they have given us is not misplaced. And so it's critical that the taxpayer dollars that we take in, that they are spent wisely and to go back to specifically what we told them that we were going to spend them for.
Representative Love.
I think for me, words are powerful. Unwisely is different from abused. Taxpayer dollars came in, comptroller gave us responses to questions about what was allowed, and those dollars were allowed to be used for what they were spent for. That's not abuse. Because again, I'm just saying, for me, abuse is a strong word. because there's an implication and there's also an indictment in that either there was some illegal spending, there was some tricking of taxpayers, saying we're going to spend it on this, but then spend it on this. And so that's was my concern about the use of the word abused, because, again, that sends a strong message. And maybe I'm taking it personally because I have friends who are on the Metro Council who I know dedicated their careers to doing the right thing and would not count themselves among those who abused the trust of taxpayers. Words have meaning. And so for me, that's just where I want to list out instances where, give me an instance, all right, if you can, of where the money was abused.
Okay, let me say this before we go much further. I've gave some leeway. Let's make sure you said what you said, you opposed what she said, but we're kind of getting into a running debate a little bit, and we're kind of getting away from the bill. And so I want to make sure that we stay on this bill as we go through this. So I've gave a little bit of leeway because I thought, did bring up a good point. So let's if you want to answer, then let's move on and let's get back on the bill.
The only response I would give to you is that we had heard from the comptroller and the comptroller emeritus that they weren't sure where the dollars went. And so it's hard for me to give an example when we don't know how those dollars are spent. And that's really the question is there's accountability that needs to be made. Whenever we take in taxpayer dollars, we need to make sure that we're accountable to the citizens, that we can tell them how they were spent and what they were directed for. And that's all I will say. And I apologize to you if you feel that that's too strong of language. I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sponsor.
Chairman Williams. I think Chairman Williams had to step out. Let's go to Chairman Hawk. Okay. That's all I have on the list. Any further discussion? Again, we're on House Bill 1279. Hearing none and seeing none. We're now voting on House Bill 1279, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it, and House Bill 1279 moves to full finance. If you'd like to be recorded as a no, please let the clerk know. House Bill 1279, full finance. All right, members, we're going to back up to item number 9. All right, item number 9 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1317 by Chairman Kumar. You have a motion to second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1317 reorganizes and makes improvements to the pharmacy board. It adds 2 more members to the board that will bring the needed expertise, including a pharmacy technician for the first time, as well as another practicing pharmacist. It strengthens and streamlines the function of the board, and it enhances qualifications of the members. It specifies the duties of the executive director and allows advisory rulings as well as licensing of pharmacy intern. These are much needed and long due improvements that are necessary.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Kumar. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1317. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none. We're now voting on House Bill 1317, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1317 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Thank you. Put this back to 17. Yeah. Oh, no. Are we on 17? So we are good. All right, members, that brings us to item number 17. Item number 17 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 975 by Representative Glenn. You have a motion to second, and there is an amendment that has been filed, drafting code 004912. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion to second on the amendment. You have a motion and a second. Okay, Representative, do you want to explain the amendment, or do you want to go ahead and get it on the bill and get it in the proper posture?
Get it on the bill.
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman.
Members, any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on the amendment drafting code 004912 onto House Bill 975. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. This bill is real simple. Right now, a retired teacher can teach up to 120 days without it affecting their pension. All this bill does is allow them to go beyond 120 days to help us with the teacher shortage.
All right. Thank you, Representative Glenn, for this description. Members, any discussion? House Bill 975. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 975, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 975 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee.
Thank you, sir. All right. Item number 19 on our calendar is House Bill 496 by Representative Martin. Representative Brock Martin, you have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. This bill is in regard to current law. There's no statute for the time frame for health licensure boards to issue a license. This simply puts a 60-day window in place for those licensures to be submitted back to the individual.
All right. Thank you, Representative Martin. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 496. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 496, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 496 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Thank you. Item number 20 on our calendar. Item number 20 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 743. So without objection, I don't see Representative Mitchell. So without objection, we will roll him to the Hill. Without objection, so moved. That brings us to item number 22. Item number 22 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 26 by Chairman Faison. You have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee, this bill would allow somebody who's been incarcerated in prison for a period of time, when they get out, to be able to hold their fines and fees back for 180 days if they petition the clerk until they get themselves established.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Faison. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 26. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 26, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 26 moves to full finance. Thank you, Chairman. Item number 23 is House Bill 738 by Representative Love. You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This piece of legislation creates a doula advisory committee, and it is a good bill, I think, if I can say so myself.
All right. Thank you for this humble description, Representative Love. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 738, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 738 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, that brings us to the addendum calendar. All right, members, we're now moving over to the addendum calendar. All right, members, item number 25 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 271 by Representative Hicks of Washington. Do we have a motion to second? You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 271 simply creates a new certification for psychological testing technicians to be housed under the Board of Examiners for Psychology. The purpose is to help with the shortage of psychologists and neuropsychologists, so this will free up more time so they can assist more patients.
All right. Thank you, Representative Hicks. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 271. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none. We're now voting on House Bill 271, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 271 moves to full finance.
Thank you, son. We're real proud of you at home.
Thanks, Granddad. Members and audience, I appreciate your patience. Give us just a second. We just want to make sure that we have everything in order here before we move forward. All right, members, audience, at this time, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. So without objection, we stand in recess. All right, I'll call us back to order, and we are going to begin. First, and then we'll get. All right, we'll call up item 15. Item 15 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 764 by Representative Davis. You have a motion to second. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so this bill had amendments. Did they travel with the bill, sir?
Yes, you're in the proper posture to move forward.
Thank you very much, Chair. I appreciate that. And so essentially what House Bill 764 does as amended, it authorizes municipal governing bodies to create a police advisory review committee, and upon that adoption by ordinance of 2/3 vote. The purpose of the committee is to strengthen the relationship between citizens and law enforcement agencies to ensure timely, fair, and objective review of citizens' complaints while protecting the individual rights of local law enforcement officers. The committee will make recommendations concerning citizen complaints to the head of law enforcement. The committee will consist of 7 members that will be appointed by the mayor and then approved by that governing body. And this bill ensures that community oversight boards operate under the same standards statewide. And with that, I request a favorable consideration.
All right, thank you, Representative Davis. Members, you have heard the description of House Bill 764. Any discussion? Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And sponsor, just wanted to get clarity on what was needed to improve the current situation with community oversight boards that this was brought.
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Chair. So essentially, this creates a statewide standard so that all of the boards have similar processes and procedures that they follow. It sets up the structure of the board, how they're created. Those, if they want to have an executive director, that executive director needs to ensure that they have background checks, that they're drug tested because they're going to be dealing with sensitive and secure information. Then also we wanted to make sure that those boards, that they were appointed by the city, that municipality, that governing body, and then approved by that council. And we just wanted to create statewide standards that everyone can follow.
Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was observing when the Nashville Community Oversight Board was created, and it was genuinely a effort of the people, right, by petitions being signed and information being spread about the benefits of it. My concern is that that aspect of it is being taken away, particularly in Nashville, because now the mayor makes all the appointments. And do want to ask about the investigative authority of the oversight boards. Is that still intact?
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so we would hope that all of our mayors would appoint community leaders in their community that have the ability to volunteer and are responsible and in manner that addresses those concerns of their neighborhoods and their community. I would ensure that the mayors that are elected by the community hopefully will listen to those members and make sure that the appointments that they make are ones for individuals that they feel are very representative towards those specific issues. Now, the second part of your question.
Representative Love?
No.
Oh, you're answering the question. I'm sorry.
Sorry, hang on. Let me go back to that. So the way that that process works is they would receive a complaint. Then it would go, they would then forward that to the internal affairs. That would be investigated. The results of that would then come back to, if there's an executive director, it would come back to that executive director that would then present it to that committee. And then that committee can move forward with its findings.
Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in this instance, does your bill change the oversight board's investigative process from current law?
Well, currently, there's not a statewide law that addresses these advisory review committees. What we did was we drafted this language from what Knoxville has with their police advisory review committee. That's kind of the language and the process and the framework that we used to create this statewide law.
Representative Love.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, for your space you give me on this. My concern is that there may be oversight boards that have a different process that allows them to have more input in the investigative process, and now using this as a standard may create difficulties. So let me ask this question. Notwithstanding that that's probably where you represent, I assume, Knoxville area.
Yes, sir.
Any reason why that was chosen as the model for how oversight boards should have statewide application?
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's worked very well. And so it was one that we felt like that was a good model to use.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, further discussion on House Bill 764. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 764, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 764 moves to full finance. If you'd like to be recorded as a no, please let the clerk know so. All right, that brings us to item number 20. Item number 20 on our calendars, House Bill 743 by Representative Mitchell. You have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this is a simple bill. Back when Metro government was formed in Nashville, there was the city limits and then the county. One of the compromises was the only place that could be a liquor store was in the city limits. And over the years, there's been annexation of properties to reach out into the old county area where liquor stores now are allowed, where they've been annexed into the urban services district versus the general services district. The difference in the two is higher taxes in the urban services district, and you get street lights and you get garbage pickup. Most people in the general services district don't want the street lights. We don't want any wires in our neighborhoods. So right now, a lot of the area, and probably I'd say 75% of this area we're talking about is my house district now, and some of Representative Hemmer's house district now. All this would allow is for liquor stores to go in any part of the county now instead of just in the urban service district.
All right. Thank you, Representative Mitchell. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 743. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 743, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 743 moves to full finance.
I appreciate your patience, committee.
Thank you. All right, that is everything. All right, members, any item that was not taken up on the regular calendar and the addendum calendar has been, without objection, will be taken off notice. Without objection, off notice. All right, that brings us to our driver's license calendar. So I'll give you just a second to pull that up. All right. Item number 1 on our driver's license calendar is going to be House Bill 88 by Speaker Pro Temp Marsh. You have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 88.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a pro-veteran bill that will allow current military personnel or veterans within 1 year of honorable discharge to help acquire a commercial driver's license. If they've got an honorable discharge, they don't have to take the written test to get a CDL license in Tennessee. They already are exempt from the driving test, so this just will help give us more drivers in the state of Tennessee.
All right. Thank you very much, Speaker Marsh. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 88. Any discussion? Question's been called. Any objection? Calling the question. Hearing none, seeing none. We're now voting on House Bill 88. Moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 88 moves to full finance. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you.
All right. That brings us to item number 3. Item number 3 on our calendar is House Bill 78 by Leader Lambert. You do have a motion and a second on House Bill 78, and you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is an administration bill that deals with driver's license revocation periods, and specifically would deal with the length of the revocation matching it up with the amount of insurance that they would have to have. So if somebody gets a DUI right now, for whatever reason, it's required that they have SR22 insurance for 3 years, even though their license is only revoked for 1. We're just freeing this up so that the insurance companies can make that determination with their own customer instead of the state requiring that. And it does some other technical changes, but that's the biggest one.
Okay. Thank you, Leader. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 78. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 78, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 78 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
All right, members, that brings us to item number 4, and that's House Bill 485 by Chairman Boyd. And without objection, we will roll this one to the Hill. Without objection, so moved. That brings us to item number 7. Item number 7 is going to be House Bill 929 by Representative McKenzie. And without objection, we'll roll that one to the Hill. So without objection, we will roll House Bill 929 to the Hill. That brings us to item number 8 on our calendar. Item number 8 is going to be House Bill 142 by Chairman Faison. You have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee, this is a bill for people with commercial license for driving who also have to have a hazmat. They come due at separate times. This puts parity in them, so next year when one is due, the next one's due at the same time, and all the truckers like it.
All right. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 142. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 142, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 142 moves to full finance. All right. All right, members, let's go to item number 4 on our calendar. Item number 4 is House Bill 485 by Chairman Boyd. You have a motion and a second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description on House Bill 485.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 485, the Eddie Conrad Act, would increase the number of points for a repeat offender of texting and driving if they are a minor. It would add 7 points to their license. Mr. Chairman, I'll take any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Boyd. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 485. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 485, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 485 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. All right, that brings us to item number 7 on our calendar. Item number 7 is House Bill 929 by Representative McKenzie. You have a motion and a second, sir. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill simply deletes a statement that says or foster care. So what it does basically is allow all children under 18 in state custody the ability to get their driver's license without a fee.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 929. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 929, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 929 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee.
Thank you. Sam, I like that. I adopted a child out of DCS. I would have loved to have had that.
All right, members, any bills not taken up on the driver's license calendar without objection will be taken off notice. I'm sorry. Without objection, off notice. All right, that brings us to our next calendar. All right, members, the next calendar we're going to take up is going to be the special calendar. However, the bills on this calendar will be referred back to the clerk's desk, so without objection, the remaining bills on the special calendar are referred back to the clerk's desk. All right, we are getting ready to start with the behind the budget calendar. So just get everybody prepared here just for a second. All right, thank you very much for your patience. Members, without objection, we're going to go and take back up the driver's license calendar. So without objection, we're taking the driver's license calendar back up. That brings us to item number 2. So without objection, we're going to reconsider our actions on House Bill 1278. So without objection, we're going to reconsider. So moved. We are back on item number 2, House Bill 1278. Speaker Johnson, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1272 lowers the minimum visual acuity requirement for drivers of non-commercial vehicles from 2040 to 2050.
All right, thank you very much. And Speaker Johnson, I felt bad about leaving it off until you said the wrong number. So now I don't feel as bad. It was 1278, House Bill 1278. Is that what you have?
That's what I had.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
All righty. Members, you've heard that description of House Bill 1278. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1278, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1278 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr.
Speaker.
Chairman.
Appreciate it.
Committee.
I'll be here for full finance if we need to.
All right, members, we are on the behind the budget calendar, and we are going to try to accommodate some folks. We're going to take up, first of all, we're going to take up item, was that 117? Item number 117, House Bill 1269 by Leader Cochran. And, sir, you are recognized. You have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. HB 1269 simply allows the teacher to refer to a student by pronouns based on the student's birth, sex, without fear of adverse disciplinary action or legal action.
All right. Thank you, Leader Cochran. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1274. 1269. I'm sorry about that. Again, House Bill 1269. You've heard the description. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none. Representative Shaw.
Point of order is I thought on my calendar I got 1274. Cochran's bill.
It's 1269, sir.
1269.
It's the one right after that one you're looking at.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Further discussion. House Bill 1269. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1269, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1269 moves to full finance. Holy crap. All right. Who is item number one? He was doing item number one. All right, that brings us, members, to item number one. Item number one is House Bill 983 by Chairman Haston. You have a motion and a second. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Currently, Tennessee teachers have had to use sick leave days and vacation days to take parental leave for a new child. This legislation would guarantee the payment of the teacher's salary for a 6-week period if they qualify in the event of a birth, adoption, or stillbirth of a child. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Chairman Haston. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 983. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 983, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 983 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman, Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Item number 2 is going to be by Chairman Hurt. That's going to be item number 2, House Bill 1031. You have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized on House Bill 1031 for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This legislation creates a full-time autonomous inmate disciplinary board to oversee the current disciplinary board recommendations for awarding and removing sentence credits. Creating a statewide oversight disciplinary board promotes public safety while ensuring across the board that each case is treated under the same rules. This legislation is not about preventing good behavior credit. It's about addressing violent behavior in prison and making sure that when violent behavior occurs, that it's taken into account and that there are teeth in addressing the violations. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll take any questions.
All right, thank you, Chairman Hurt. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1031. Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1031, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1031 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee.
Item number 3 on our calendar is House Bill 1030 by Chairman Doggett. Do we have a motion to second? We have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 1030.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. This bill is amended, makes changes to the current repeat violent offender law. It's also vital for holding repeat violent offenders accountable for their actions while also protecting victims and the public.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1030. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1030, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1030 moves to full finance. Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I've got about 5 more bills, just trying to save you the trouble if you want me to stay put and we can go through those or.
All right, let's go to item number 24. Item number 24 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 702, also by Chairman Doggett. You have a motion and a second, sir. You are recognized. Again, this is item number 24.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What we're seeking to do is enhance the punishment for the sale, manufacture, delivery, and possession with the intent to sell, manufacture, or deliver fentanyl and fentanyl analogs from a Class C felony to a Class B felony for any amount 0.5 grams or more, but less than 15 grams, and for any amount less than 0.5 grams if a weapon is involved or if the offense resulted in a death or serious bodily injury to another person.
All right, thank you, Chairman, very much. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 702. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 702, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 702 moves to full finance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. All right, that brings us to item number 4. Item number 4 on our calendar is House Bill 392 by Speaker Marsh. You have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Battery charge security fences are used by businesses across the country. This legislation will require battery charge security fences to be regulated through the alarm system code when they meet certain requirements. With that, I'll answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Speaker Marsh. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 392. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 392, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 392 moves to full finance. It brings us to item number 5 on our calendar. Item number 5 is House Bill 804 by Speaker Marsh. Do we have a motion to second? You have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill concerns personal property tax and the schedules. Now, in a lot of small businesses have personal property tax schedules that they file. A lot of these, they use professional tax accountants to file these. That can cost hundreds of dollars to pay a fee of less than $25. So what we're doing is we're changing this and streamlining it to make it more business friendly. We're setting up 2 levels of business property personal property taxes. One at $2,000 that you file and pay a small fee. The other one, it starts out at $10,000 that you file and pay a little bit larger fee. This is going to take care of 52% of our filers, and it's going to make it a lot easier and where they can do it themselves very quickly. With that, I'll answer any question.
All right, thank you, Speaker Marsh. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 804. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 804, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 804 moves to full finance. Thank you, Speaker. That brings us to item number 7 on our calendar. Item number 7 is going to be House Bill 905 by Speaker Johnson. You have a motion and a second. You are recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 905 seeks to add new judges in the 13th, 19th, 22nd, and 23rd judicial districts.
Okay, and Speaker Johnson, I think there's an amendment to this piece of legislation that has been filed by Chair Lady Hazelwood. This amendment was filed untimely, so without objection, we will take this amendment up. So without objection, so moved. Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We recognize the need for these judges in the judicial districts, but due to financial constraints, we're just able to fund partially this year, and those judges will be in the 13th, 19th, and 22nd judicial districts.
All right, thank you, Chair Lady. Members, you've heard the description of the amendment, and again, the amendment is Drafting Code 7627. You've heard the description. Any discussion on the amendment? Leader Camper.
Sorry, thank you, Madam Chair. You're taking away one of the judicial districts from the original, or two?
Chair Lady Hazelwood.
We are funding 13th, 19th, and 22nd.
Okay.
Leader Camper.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other questions on the amendment? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on the amendment. So we're voting on Drafting Code 7627 onto House Bill 905. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill, the amendment is on the bill. Speaker Johnson, you're recognized, sir.
I renew my motion.
All right. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion on House Bill 905? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now moving House Bill 905 on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 905 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee.
Thank you, Speaker. All right, that brings us to item number 8. That is House Bill 831. So without objection, we will roll this one to the Hill. Without objection, so moved. We're going to roll them to the Hill tonight. Brings us to item number 9. Item number 9 is House Bill 806 by Leader Lamberth. Without objection, we'll roll this to the Hill. That brings us to item number 10, House Bill 385 by Leader Lamberth. Without objection, we'll roll this one to the Hill. That brings us to item number 12. Item number 12 is House Bill 27. Without objection, we'll roll this one to the Hill. That brings us to item number 15. Item number 15 is House Bill 1119 by Chairman Carr. Chairman, you have a motion and a second. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee, that is for the wineries, and what it does, the winery people that have a bunch of licenses, it just puts them all together, makes them due at the same date.
All right, thank you very much, members. You've heard the description of House Bill 1119. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1119, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1119 goes to full finance. That brings us to item number 17 on our calendar. Item number 17 is House Bill 458 by Chairman Carr. You have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill here is the BUI, boating under the influence. It does the same penalties as driving under the influence.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 458. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 458, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 458 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman. Committee.
All right, that brings us to item number 27. Item number 27 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1357 by Chairman Farmer. I saw Chairman Farmer just a second ago. He was standing. Let's see if he's out in the hall. We'll roll those to the hill, and then we'll pick them up since he comes in. All right, that brings us to item number 27, House Bill 1357. Without objection, we'll roll this one to the hill. Brings us to item number 29, House Bill 1362 by Farmer. Without objection, we'll roll this one to the hill. Brings us to item number 30, House Bill 1351. Without objection, we will roll this one to the hill. Brings us to item number 31 by Representative Grills, House Bill 1008. I don't see Representative Grills, so without objection, we will roll House Bill 1008 to the hill. That brings us to item number 35, and there's Chair Lady Hilton Haynes, House Bill 779. We have a motion to second. You're recognized, Chair Lady.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Currently, there's no statutory time frame that requires a health licensure board to issue a license. This bill is amended, establishes the time frame for medical examiners, osteopathic examination, nursing, and physician's assistants, which is 45 days, and establishes the time frame for Board of Alcohol and Drug Abuse Counselors to 60 days.
All right. Thank you, Chair Lady Hilton Haynes. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? Again, we're on House Bill 779. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 779, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 779 moves to full finance.
Thank you.
Okay. Brings us to item number 36. Item number 36 is House Bill 1281. Chairman Kumar, are you running that bill? I know you're signed on that one. I think you're not running that one? Okay. All right. Without objection, we will roll House Bill 1281 to the hill. Without objection, so moved. Brings us to item number 38. Item number 38 on our calendar is Chairman Hurt. House Bill 898. You have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 898, as amended, would ensure land which is enrolled in federal or state conservation programs can maintain greenbelt status. The ultimate goal for this legislation is to ensure there continues to be green space areas in Tennessee for generations to come.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 898. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 898, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 898 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 40 on our calendar. Okay, item back there is Chairman Kiesling. Item number 40 is House Bill 1280 by Chairman Kiesling. You have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized on House Bill 1280.
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Members, this House Bill 1280 expands the offense of aggravated stalking to our senior citizens. Currently, these actions create a Class A misdemeanor. With this legislation, it will bump it up to a Class C felony, requiring a mandatory sentence of 1129. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1280. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1280, moving to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1280 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman. And members.
Thank you. Let's go back, members, to item number 36. Item number 36 on our calendar is House Bill 1281 by Chairman Holsclaw. You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized on House Bill 1281.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. Basically, 1281 is a Family Medical Student Loan Repayment Grant Program, which incentivizes physicians to do residence training to provide medical service for rural areas.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, do you have any questions for our sponsor on House Bill 1281? Question's been called. Any objection to calling the question? Hearing none, seeing none. We're now voting on House Bill 1281, moving to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1281 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. All right. Let's go back to item number 42. Item number 42 on our calendar is Chairman Kumar, House Bill 1307. You have a motion and a second. You are recognized on House Bill 1307.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is firearm safety bill. As we know, since institution of constitutional carry, we do not require citizens to take a gun safety course prior to getting their carry permit. As a result of that, the number of safety courses given in our state has really fallen from 55,000 in 2020 to 11,000 in 22. This bill incentivizes people to take this course by giving them a $30 supplement towards the gun safety course. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Kumar. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1307. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1307, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1307 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, that brings us, thank you. That brings us to item number 44, House Bill 874 by Chairman Lafferty. You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 874.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Committee. This bill would allow any willing provider, meaning any laboratory, to do lab work for hospitals or patients that need the lab work done that are outside of, say, their insurance carrier's insurer. And with that, I'll take any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Lafferty. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 874. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 874, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 874 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. All right, members, that brings us to item number 48 on our calendar. Item number 48 is by Chair Lady Moody. I don't see Chair Lady Moody, so without objection, we will roll this bill to the Hill. So without objection, House Bill 634 to the Hill. That, item number 48. That brings us to item number 49. Item number 49 on our calendar is House Bill 1242 by Chairman Powers. Do we have a motion to second? We have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 1242.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Committee. House Bill 1242 is the drug of the Living Dead Act. And what it is, this drug, xylazine, is known as a zombie drug. It's a non-opioid veterinary tranquilizer used in horses and cattle. It's been connected to several overdoses in Tennessee. In the event of a suspected overdose, they recommend giving Narcan. This has no effect on Narcan, and the patient will die. And so this bill is not scheduled now, but it would make xylazine a Schedule III drug.
Okay.
With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1242. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none. All those in favor of House Bill 1242 moving to full finance, please say aye. All opposed, say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1242 moves to full finance. All right, that brings us to item number 51. Item number 51 on our calendars, House Bill 993 by Chairman Powers. You have a motion, a second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Okay, I'll be glad to do that. We skipped one, 50, House Bill 50.
House Bill 51.
51. Okay. I'm going to go with your number. Okay, House
Do we have a motion, a second? You have a motion, a second on House Bill 993, item 51.
Gotcha. House Bill 993 is the Primacy Act. What it is, in 2018, the General Assembly enacted the Primacy and Reclamation Act of Tennessee, directing the governor to pursue state oversight of the act known as primacy. In the state's effort to obtain primacy, we learned that the sites were under bonded, and at $33 million, the federal government is liable that would be transferred to us. So in light of that, this bill would postpone our efforts to obtain primacy, and we be assured that the underbonding is addressed by the federal government. And with that, Mr. Chairman, take any questions.
All right, thank you, Chairman Powers. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 993. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 993, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 993 moves to full finance. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
That brings us to item number 53. Item number 53 on our calendars, House Bill 1346 by Chairman Powers. We have a motion to second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is, it prohibits the state and any political subdivisions from adopting or implementing a policy recommendations that might infringe or any other international law or plan of action that contravenes the United States Constitution or the Tennessee Constitution. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Chairman Powers. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1346. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1346, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1346 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee.
Thank you. All right, members, we're going to go back to item number 48, House Bill 634 by Chair Lady Moody. You have a motion and a second on House Bill 634. You have a motion, a second. Give me just a second, Chair Lady, to get back to that one.
Absolutely. I appreciate your taking me up. My apologies for not getting here fast enough.
All right, Chair Lady, you have a motion, a second. You're recognized on the bill.
Thank you so much, Chairman and Committee. This is part of Senator Hale's children and family big package deal he had. And what this bill takes care of would be creating the Child Care Improvement Fund, which would be administered by the Department of Human Services.
All right, thank you, Chair Lady. There is an amendment that has been filed. It was an untimely filed, so without objection to the untimely filed, we will entertain the amendment. So without objection, so moved. We're back on the amendment, and the amendment is filed by Chair Lady Hazelwood. That's Amendment 7661. Chair Lady, is that what you have? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's what I have.
Do we have a motion, a second on the amendment? We have a motion, a second, and Chair Lady Hazelwood, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment just makes this a pilot program to be administered by DHS. It will run from July 1 of 23 to June 30 of 26. And it sets up the fund, requires DHS to disperse grants each fiscal year from the fund that will go to nonprofit organizations to establish new or to make improvements to existing child care agency. It requires the treasurer to invest the money of the fund, and it authorizes the Commissioner of F&A to review annual reports on the fund submitted by DHS.
All right, thank you, Chair Lady. Members, you've heard the description of the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on Amendment 007661 on to House Bill 634. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment goes on the bill, and we're back on the bill, and we are back to the sponsor. If anything you would like to add.
No, I appreciate extra eyes on and things and suggestions, and I appreciate it, and I will pass on the good news.
All right, great. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 634. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 634, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those that are opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 634 moves to full finance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item number 56 on our calendar. Item number 56 is House Bill 170 by Chairman Reagan. You have a motion to second, sir. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill prevents local governments from denying a land use permit based on a law that might pass. It rejects the pending ordinance doctrine that was in a Tennessee Supreme Court case in '87 and allows that land use owners have the full right to expect full use of their property on laws that exist at the time they are intending to use it. It prevents local governments from saying, we might pass this law in the future and therefore you can't use your land as you choose. With that explanation, I stand ready for questions.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Reagan. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 170. Any discussion? Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Chairman Reagan, I fully support this bill. I just have a question. What about the time period between the time an ordinance is passed and the effective date? How would that be handled?
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The intent of the bill is to eliminate the time between a bill is or an ordinance is under consideration. If the ordinance is passed, the assumption that it would go into effect is, I think, a valid assumption.
All right, so even if it was, the effective date was a month in the future, you would expect that this bill would not preclude the enforcement of that ordinance in that period of time?
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you. Pending local government regulations on how they expect their approvals to be made. Most of the time, ordinances, unlike our laws, do not require governor's signature or the county executives and so forth signatures. If that were the case, it would have to be until the signature. But if there is no requirement beyond the ordinance being passed, I would expect that it's going to be observed.
Thank you.
Further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 170. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 170, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 170 moves to full finance. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Committee. Chair.
All right, that brings us to Chairman Reedy on item number 57, House Bill 40, item number 57 by Chairman Reedy. We have a motion to second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as amended, prohibits sanctioned non-residential aliens, sanctioned foreign businesses, sanctioned foreign governments, or their agents, trustees, fiduciaries from acquiring real property in Tennessee if their respective country is on the Office of Foreign Assets Control of the United States Department of Treasury Sanctions Program and Country Information List.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Reedy. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 40. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 40, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 40 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Brings us to item number 58. Item number 58 is House Bill 592 by Chairman Reedy. You've got a motion to second. You're recognized for a brief description, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. What this will do is repeal the Soil Scientists Licensure Act of 2009.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? And I do want to personally say, Chairman Reedy, thank you. I know I had a constituent that gave you a call, and I know you accommodated him and spoke with him, and I certainly do appreciate that.
Honored to
and
do
I
so.
think
Yes,
it
sir.
certainly made the bill a lot better. So thank you for your hard work on this. Any discussion on House Bill 592? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 592, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 592 moves on to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
I'm not sure what I just said. All right, that brings us to item number 61. Item number 61 on our calendars, House Bill 828 by Chairman Rudd. You have a motion to second, sir. You are recognized for a brief description on House Bill 828.
Thank you, Chairman. This has a $2,000 funding letter from Secretary of State. This is simply putting a a sign up. As you know, there are two, a 1973 and early 2000s law makes it a misdemeanor and a felony under O law for a person to cross over into the other person's primary without the intentions of staying. And this would simply put up an 8.5 by 11 yellow poster at the polling place, so at least people know they could be breaking the law, so it's giving them a clear warning. Outside of that, it does not change law. It just puts the poster up.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Rudd. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 828. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 828, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 828 moves to full finance. Thank you, Chairman.
Are you going to take up 59?
Yes.
And it has an amendment I filed
No,
when it was
I am
behind the
not.
budget.
No, item number 59. No, the only one that we're going to take up is item number 62, House Bill 507. I've got a request here to roll this to the first calendar of 2024.
Yes.
Okay, so without objection, House Bill 507 rolled to the first calendar of 2024. Thank you, Chairman. All right, members. Item number 63 is going to be House Bill 114 by Chairman Russell, and I don't know that I see him. Without objection, we will roll House Bill 114 to the Hill. That brings us to item number 64, House Bill 431 by Chairman White. You have a motion and a second. You are recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman Committee. Committee, this deals with Tennessee's aviation jet fuels tax cap, which is currently at $5 million. What this amendment of this bill will lower the aviation jet fuels tax down to $3 million next year, and then the following year in 2024, July 1 of 2024, the cap will then be at $1 million. This will put us in more competitive with our surrounding states such as Georgia, Kentucky, and North Carolina for our airline industry.
All right. Thank you, Chairman White. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 431. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 431, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 431 goes to full finance. Thank you, Chairman. Brings us to item number 66, House Bill 1286. Okay, members, item number 66, House Bill 1286 by Chairman Zachary. I don't see him here, so without objection, we'll roll him to the Hill. Without objection, so moved. Item number 67, House Bill 158 by Chairman Zachary. Without objection, we will roll this one to the Hill. That brings us to item number 68. Item number 68 is House Bill 355 by Representative Alexander. You have a motion and a second. You are recognized for a brief description on House Bill 355.
This bill requires a health benefit plan that provides coverage for screening mammograms to provide coverage for diagnostic imaging and supplemental breast screening without imposing a cost-sharing requirement on the patient. Establishes that such requirement applies to a high-deductible health benefit plan with a health savings account only after the plan enrollee has satisfied the required minimum deductible, except with respect to items or services that are deemed preventive care.
All right. Thank you, Representative Alexander. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 355. Any discussion? Question's been called on the bill. Any objection to calling the question? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 355, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 355 moves to full finance. Thank you. That brings us to item number 69. Item number 69 is House Bill 938 by Representative Alexander. You have a motion and a second. You're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 938.
This authorizes owners of real property used primarily for agriculture purposes who reside in a territory previously annexed by a municipal ordinance that was not annexed through a referendum or a request of the property owner to petition the municipality to de-annex such property under certain circumstances.
All right. Thank you, Representative Alexander. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 938. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we are now voting on House Bill 938, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 938 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. All right. That brings us to item number 72. Item number 72 is by Representative Sherrill. This is House Bill 1153. Do you have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description on House Bill 1153.
Thank you, Chairman and members. This bill is for Warren County, Tennessee, where they're building a new National Guard armory there in Warren County, and they want to name this new armory after Major General Terry Max Haston.
All right. Thank you very much for this description of House Bill 1153. Members, any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1153, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1153 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman and members.
All right, that brings us to item number 74. Nope, item number 77. I'm sorry. Item number 77 is going to be House Bill 1026 by Representative Butler. You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman of the Committee. This bill authorizes TWRA to take wetland funds to purchase an additional tract of land, the Oakley tract, which is 1,741 acres.
Okay. All right, members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1026. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1026, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1026 moves to full finance.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 79. Item number 79 is House Bill 1043 by Representative Bricken. We have a motion to second. You have a motion to second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill just allows the Department of Mental Health to use whatever the sports gambling money they receive for juvenile addiction and treatment that's not used for gambling addiction.
All right. Thank you very much for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 1043? Chairman Williams. You didn't want to. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1043, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1043 moves to full finance.
Thank you.
All right. All right, item number 83. Item number 83 is going to be House Bill 814 by Representative Davis. Do we have a motion and a second? You have a motion and a second. You are recognized on House Bill 814 for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee. And essentially what this bill does is it creates a statewide fryer permit for mobile food trucks.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 814. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 814, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 814 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Brings us to item 92. Item 92 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1085 by Representative Gillespie. Do we have a motion and second? We have a motion and a second. Again, we're on item 1080. We're on item 92, House Bill 1085. You've got a motion and a second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this bill does is it would extend the tax capture that the Memphis Grizzlies have in the FedEx Forum until 2059, I believe.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1085. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1085, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1085 moves to full finance.
Thanks.
All right, that brings us to item 95. Item 95 is going to be Representative Hale. We have House Bill 607. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you are recognized for a brief description on House Bill 607.
HB, thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee, and good afternoon. House Bill 607 prohibits insurance companies and TennCare from requiring prior authorization for the repair of power and manual wheelchairs. This bill was brought to me by the Tennessee Disability Coalition, so this basically covers from year 2 to year 5 in the repairs for the wheelchairs.
All right. Thank you, Representative Hale. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 607. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 607, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 607 moves to full finance.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item 97. Item 97 is House Bill 125 by Representative Leatherwood. You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. This bill exempts the retail sale of personal use trailers that are removed for use in another state within 3 calendar days. We already do this for commercial trailers, motor vehicles, and boats and so forth. This just adds the personal use trailers.
All right. Thank you, Representative Leatherwood. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 125. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 125, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 125 moves to full finance. Thank you, Representative. That brings us to item 102. Item 102 is by Representative McCalman. That's House Bill 248. Okay, without objection, we will roll House Bill 248 to the Hill. Without objection, so moved. That brings us to item 103, House Bill 1135 by Representative Miller. We have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 1135.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pensions and retirement benefits, as introduced, clarifies that it is the responsibility of the member seeking to claim prior state service for retirement credit purposes to submit to the Board of Trustees of the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System proper documentation as required by the board.
All right. Thank you, Representative Miller. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1135. Any discussion? Question's been called. Any objection? Call on the question. Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1135, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1135 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members
Thank you, sir. Members, again, if you would like to be recorded as a no, please make sure you let the clerk know. We're going to go back to item number 8. All right, members, we're going to go back to item number 8. Item number 8 is going to be House Bill 831 by Leader Lamberth. You have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized on House Bill 831 for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and this closes a loophole in the current TBI process for expungements.
All right, thank you very much for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 831? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 831, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 831 moves to full finance. That brings us to item number 9. Item number 9 on our calendars, House Bill 806 by Leader Lamberth. We have a motion second. We have a motion second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the RICO bill.
All right, thank you very much for this description. Any discussion on House Bill 806? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 806, moving to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 806 moves to full finance. That brings us to item number 10. Item number 10 on our calendar is House Bill 385 by Leader Lamberth. We have a motion to second. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill deals with jail credits and ensuring the jail administrator is the one who determines whether or not an inmate has earned jail credit when that's transmitted to TDOC.
All right, thank you very much for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 385? Questions have been called. Any objection? Call on the question. Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 385, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 385 moves to full finance. Item number 12 on our calendars, House Bill 27, also by Leader Lamberth. You have a motion to second, so you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is one of those bills that I think persistence pays off. I think everybody finally got tired of hearing me talk about this bill, so y'all decided to potentially pass it if it passes this committee. It's the Hope Scholarship Bill where if you finish in 3 years, you can keep that 4th year for graduate school if you go to a graduate school here in Tennessee. I've given much longer presentations on this bill and stand ready for as many questions y'all want. I'm real passionate about this because we should be encouraging young folks to maximize their educational opportunities and finish those educational opportunities as soon as possible and get out into the workforce where we need them. With that, Mr. Chairman, I stand ready for questions.
All right. Thank you, Leader Lamberth, for this description on House Bill 27. Any discussion? Question's been called. Any objection? Call on the question. Hearing none, seeing none. We're now voting on House Bill 27, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 27 moves to full finance. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
We're going to grab Zachary. 66. All right, members, we're going to go to item number 66. Item number 66 is House Bill 1286 by Chairman Zachary. You have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I explained this in great detail before we put this behind the budget. This simply prohibits utilizing the non-financial factor of ESG from the state perspective. That I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1286. Any discussion? Question's been called. Any objection to calling the question? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1286, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1286 moves to full finance. Brings us to item number 67. Item number 67 on our calendar is House Bill 158 by Chairman Zachary. You have a motion to second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I explained this in great detail before it went behind the budget. This simply prohibits the requirement of implicit bias training from K through 12 to higher ed for educators. That I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 158. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 158, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 158 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Thank you. 27.
On this last one?
Yep. Again, members, if you do want to be recorded as a no, please be sure to get the clerk's attention and be recorded as such. What'd you say? 27? 27. 27. All right, members, that brings us to item number 27. Item number 27 is House Bill 1357 by Chairman Farmer. Do we have a motion and a second? We do have a motion and a second.
Yeah, thank you, members, and Mr. Chair. Appreciate y'all taking care of me here. House Bill 1357, what this does is if a teacher is injured on the job, assaulted by a student, they would typically have to take their sick leave. We passed a bill about 10 years ago. I think it would give them about 8 weeks of paid leave. Of course, if they have workers' compensation, they would make up the difference of their full pay from the workers' comp. But if they're assaulted on the job by a student and they didn't have workers' comp, they wouldn't have to use their sick leave for up to a year. So it's allowed those teachers to have time to recover from doing a good job there. So just ask for passage.
All right, thank you, Chairman Farmer. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1357. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none. We're now voting on House Bill 1357, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1357 moves to full finance. All right, that brings us to item number 29. Item number 29 on our calendars, House Bill 1362 by Chairman Farmer. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee. And what this bill does three things. Started out as a cleanup bill at the Sports Wagering Advisory Council. It changed it to the Sports Wagering Council. They're not so much an advisory position anymore. Cleans up the tax structure on a handle tax. It's right now it's a complicated way to, those who calculated this would just make a straight 1.85% handle tax on all wagers across the board there. This would also eliminate a requirement that all the vendors use data that is provided by the leagues. It's called official league data. It's a mandate that they purchase this data from the leagues. They have no other option, similar to a mandate or a monopoly there. We're going to remove that to allow the leagues to purchase this information from other places other than just one, so not require them to do that. And also provides for a sliding scale for vendors. Right now there's a $750,000 a year fee that these folks have to pay. We're going to make that a sliding fee based off the revenues and income that these folks are making. So that's what this bill does. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Chairman Farmer. There is an amendment that was untimely filed. So without objection, we will hear the untimely filed amendment. So without objection, so moved. That amendment was filed by Representative Garrett. Representative Garrett, you're recognized, and I have that amendment as 6338. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We have a motion, a second on the amendment.
I move.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second on the amendment. You're recognized for a description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment deals with the use of official league data. And when this legislation first was passed, I believe in my first year, I supported the legislation because I wanted to make sure we could capture the tax revenue that this was going to provide. I mean, the sports gambling world, if we didn't have a regulation that could do this, I believe Kentucky is the newest one that passed the legislation. Someone's going to do it, and I would rather us have this particular revenue source for tax purposes. So with that, I've never even participated in a wager before. It's beyond my ability to understand the statistics, how to do that, what to bet, et cetera. So when I heard this legislation was coming through, I've got some real issues with the data that some of these companies compile and making sure the data is actually accurate. Because what's going to happen is if you have a wager and you are relying upon certain amount of data and that data is unofficial data, then I don't know from a consumer standpoint if they know what they're betting on. And with the current form, I'm afraid that a consumer is not going to be aware of whether they're relying upon official data or unofficial data. Unofficial data are companies that they don't have a live feed. They're not provided things that are instant. There's a lot of bets that happen live, and they may not have the right data that's live at that moment, but they could be relying upon that and making a wager. This legislation could subject them to some issues of making a wager based upon unreliable or unofficial league data. So that's what this amendment does. It takes that portion of this legislation out so the official league data can be relied upon so it doesn't potentially harm a Tennessee consumer as they interact with a sports book for betting purposes. So that's basically what the amendment does, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description of the amendment. Any discussion? Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Leader Garrett. Just as a quick question to the sponsor of the bill, just to make sure that I understand kind of what we're discussing here, would you consider, as it relates the representative's new amendment to be a friendly amendment to your bill, or would you consider it to be an unfriendly amendment based upon your work and the path to this subcommittee?
Chairman Farmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This will be an unfriendly amendment. This bill's worked its way through subcommittee, full committee, and now it's here in budget sub for the second time after being placed behind the budget, hoping to come out today. But a lot of work's went into this, and I think it needs to stay as is.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right, thank you. Further discussion on the amendment? Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Just a question for either the sponsor or the sponsor of the amendment. There's been a lot of discussion, a lot of folks calling our offices on both sides of this issue. And I guess my question is this something that we really need to get into, or could we not just these are very large entities. You have vendors, you have the league, you have a lot of large private companies, and couldn't we just let those folks work this out without, us intervening in this process? I guess I'm trying to understand why we would need to be a part of it.
Representative Garrett.
Madam Chairman, thank you for answering that question. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring the amendment, was hoping that the parties would try to get back together and reach some sort of agreement, because this is a complicated space, a complicated industry, and there are various different, I think, opinions on what I just said versus, and I've talked to the sponsor beforehand, so I completely respect Chairman Farmer in what we're trying to do here, but I do believe the parties just kind of halted and didn't continue to make hopefully better efforts to try to figure out how we can resolve this. Because my understanding, and I know the word monopoly has been thrown around, is that this is not truly one that's going to be a monopoly, that there's only one company that does the data from the official league sources. There are many out there. So I do think there's ways that I hope, if this amendment goes on, that there'll be more discussions on how to make this an even better bill. So with that, I completely understand that statement. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Chair Lady Hazelwood.
No, I think that's it.
Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do have a question for the sponsor of the amendment. Before I ask him, I spent a lot of time on both sides of this, looking at this amendment, talking to people from the sports world, a considerable amount of time trying to get my hand around it. The thing I kept coming back to is, can you give me an instance, committee, you need to hear this, of what only the leagues would know that said gambling company could only get from them if they're going to put out a wager or a bet out there. And every time I ask, can you give me what is so protected, what is so not seen on ESPN or Twitter, or what's live, what is there that only the leagues would know? I never could get an answer, so that's why it made me uncomfortable to support this bill. So, and I will ask you, I didn't realize you were bringing this amendment because I decided not to, but I will ask you, if XYZ company is gambling, your amendment says they can only put out bets based on what they get from the league. What is it that comes from the league that they can't already see on Twitter or ESPN or whatever else? What is it that the rest of the world can't see that is only proprietary to the professional athletics?
Representative Garrett.
I'm going to, that's probably a little bit out of my expertise as it relates to this particular industry, because there's so much data that is instant when it comes to when people place their bets on these platforms. I mean, it can be from the coin toss to who comes out of the gate first, and that's an instant data that happens live. And then on television, there's obviously a delay of when that bet takes place. So if you are watching it from television and then you're providing that sports book the information from television, you're 20 seconds behind. And so that bettor may not be betting on what's actually going on from where the data is coming from the source that the NFL uses or the PGA, et cetera.
Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question to that, is it not a third party who is relegating this information to the gambling companies?
Chairman Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my understanding that there are vendors that information is provided to, that information is provided to the sports gambling book. So it's not like it's directly from the professional organization. There are companies out there that are designed to do this.
Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my question on that is, you used the instance that there could be a 20-second delay, but you, instead of said company going direct to what's coming up on ESPN or social media, now they have to pay to get information that's third party. And I still would ask the question, what is happening that they can't see by the time a third party gets it and relegates it to them? That would just, it's just a hard place for me to get to support that. But if you want to answer that, I'm all ears.
Representative Garrett.
Well, I look at it like this, and I know most consumers that use this platform probably have never heard of official league data or unofficial league data. But if I would have known what I'm gambling with, and I'm going to do, again, I've never done this before, but if I was going to do a platform and I knew this was a platform that had official data rather than a platform that had unofficial data, I'm going to pick the one that's got official data that I can hopefully trust, that I know whatever information is I'm receiving in an instant where I'm going to place that bet, I've got the most recent official data. And that's what concerns me about the current posture of the legislation, is that I'm afraid that's not going to get to the consumer in the most official way that this data is mined. So I hope that answers your question, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Faison.
I don't know if you can answer this, but I would have a question, and maybe legal can answer this, but can said gambling company put a bet up on their platform that they already don't know is a possibility of a bet? Like, I'm listening to Representative Garrett, and I feel like that he's saying there's a potential that said company could offer a wager on their forum that they won't be able to know what the answer is. And my question is would that even be legal for them to offer something for you to gamble on that they wouldn't automatically know the answer to? Representative Garrett.
I would say that's a very good question, but I would say that any sports book's not going to know an outcome beforehand when they bet. If that's what you're, what I'm making sure, what I'm concerned about is the consumer, from the consumer side, has all the information they need in order to make that particular wager. And unofficial data just makes me nervous of what could be out there and what they're actually betting on.
Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And obviously, I'm not saying that they would already know the answer. I'm just saying that said company could not offer you to be able to bet on anything unless they know they're going to have the knowledge of it as it takes place. That's all I'm saying. Obviously, they're like the rest of us. They don't know the answer until the play's been played. But my question is could they even offer a bet that it's not possible for them to be able to watch Twitter or ESPN and see the answer?
Representative Garrett.
And I do not know the answer to that question, whether or not what bets they can offer or may not be able to offer.
Chairman Faison. Chairman Whitson.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Can I ask the question to the sponsor or just to the?
Just to the sponsor
So
of the amendment.
the information that you're talking about and your amendment is to ensure the integrity of the information, and it comes from the NFL, the National Basketball Association, NBA, and the Baseball Association. And so your concern is that there's these outlying entities out there that could, I don't say the word counterfeit, but could consumers be tricked into relying on data that may not be have the integrity of the major sports?
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that's a possibility. And because I know the NFL, they take a rigorous process to make sure their vendors have the data that's referred to as the official league data. And, I think there's a question whether or not that data is their proprietary information. So, of course, they have a vested interest in how that data would be dispersed. And so if you have an entity that is not obtaining their official league data and a consumer relies upon that data, I'm just afraid they're not going to know what they're betting on. And that's what my concerns are regarding the way the current posture of the legislation is. We haven't had that yet here because they have to use official league data right now. And so we don't have really any history of any issues that could be going forward, but there are some across the country. Now granted, they have to be paid back if they put out a bet and the bet ends up not being wrong and they couldn't pay it. But I'm just afraid that's going to multiply by sources that aren't using official league data.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Further discussion? Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the sponsor of the amendment. The official league data is actually determined by a third party under contract with the league. Is that correct?
Representative Garrett.
I believe it is from the source, from the particular league, if it's the NFL, PGA, or MLB. It's data from them that's verified as their official league data, yes.
Chairman Moon.
But it's been done through a third party.
Representative Garrett.
I believe so, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Further discussion. Again, we're on the amendment 006338. Question's been called on the amendment. Any objection? Call on the question. All right, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of Amendment 6338 going on to House Bill 1362, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The noes have it. Motion fails. We're back on the bill as
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the committee.
Thank you. Chairman Farmer.
I think I just renewed my motion.
All right. Members, any discussion on the bill 1362? If not, hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1362 going to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Let me say that again. All in favor of House Bill 1362, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1362 moves to full finance. All right, that brings us to item 30. Item 30 is House Bill 1351, again by Chairman Farmer. Do we have a motion to second? We have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description of House Bill 1351.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. What this bill does, sheriffs are required to carry a bond. Right now, there's no statute of limitation. If a deputy, a sheriff's deputy or something does something wrong and they get sued, there's no statute of limitations for the sheriff to be sued on that bond. This would set a statute of limitation in line with other torts in Tennessee of 1 year. So this is what this does.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Farmer. House Bill 1351. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1351, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1351 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chair and Committee.
All right, that brings us to item number 31. Item number 31 on our calendars, House Bill 1008 by Chairman Grills. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill adds the one instance of placing an electronic tracking device without the consent of a person on the person or on the person's property is considered another course of conduct for stalking.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description on House Bill 1008. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1008, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1008 moves to full finance. All right, that brings us to item number 63. Item number 63 is, there's Representative Russell. Item number 63 is House Bill 114 by Chairman Russell. Do we have a motion second? We do have a motion second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description on House Bill 114.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Committee. House Bill 114 allows the court to sentence a defendant convicted of 2 or more criminal offenses to consecutive sentences if the defendant is sentenced for a criminal offense involving more than one victim, and the court finds that the separate consecutive sentence for each offense is in the best interest of justice. With that, I renew my motion.
All right. Thank you very much, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 114. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 114, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 114 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
All right, members, thank you again for your patience. Item number 73 is going to be House Bill 239 by Representative Bulso. We have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 239.
73.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill does just one thing. It clarifies that the term sex, as used in the Tennessee Code, unless the context otherwise requires, refers to one's biological sex.
All right, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 239. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 239, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 239 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Right. Representative Love, the clerk is to my left.
They're actually the clerk. I'm just.
We're marking. Yep, we're
I
good.
play one on TV. Yeah.
All right. Okay, where we go? Let's do McAlman.
Okay, that's 102.
Want me to see next?
He was at the heel.
Okay.
Let's skip them and then.
For some reason.
Who's next in order? All right. Members, we're going to go to item 102. That's House Bill 248 by Representative McAlman. It's House Bill 248. Do we have a motion to second? We have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 248.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You had me scared there for a second. I was curious if I was going to get a motion. Members, this bill was brought to me by the late DA in my county, Kim Helper. This bill, in a nutshell, says that if you are convicted of domestic assault, you will serve at least 30 days in jail. If in the process of said assault you strangle somebody unconscious, the DA has the opportunity to pursue attempted homicide at a Class B felony. And with that, I will stand ready for questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Representative McAlman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 248. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 248, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 248 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Thank you. Yep. You're good. All right, members, that brings us to item 108. Item 108, that's House Bill 254 by Representative Raper. Do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. Sir, you are recognized on House Bill 254.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. And I do have an amendment since we...
Yep. We do not need to file the amendment.
Okay.
You're ready to
All right.
proceed.
Thank you very much. This bill references property tax reimbursements for the elderly and low income. Reimbursements are paid on the first $27,000 in TCA currently set forth by the General Appropriations Act on full market value. This bill would raise the amount from $27,000 to $40,000. And at this point, I'll entertain any questions.
All right. Thank you, Representative. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 254. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 254, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 254 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item number 112. That's House Bill 100 by Representative Stevens. Do we have a motion to second? We have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 100.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 100 removes the state portion of litigation tax from adoption cases, but does not affect the local portion.
All right. Thank you, Representative. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 100. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 100, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 100 moves to full finance. Okay, that brings us to Representative Vital, item 113, House Bill 1144. We have a motion to second. Sir, you are recognized for a brief description on House Bill 1144.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. This bill helps small-scale independent school bus contractors who provide reliable transportation for Tennessee's children. Most of the school bus contractors own and operate a single bus. This bill creates parity for the counties for the first bus contracted with lowering the annual title registry fee. This bill does not affect all contracted buses, only those exclusively used for academic and school bus athletic events, and only the first bus for those contractors.
All right.
For your consideration.
Thank you, Representative Vital. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1144. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1144, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1144 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman, members.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item 118. Item 118 is House Bill 1452 by Chairman Faison. Do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking it up. Mr. Chair, there are several hundred boards and commissions. Nope, different bill. I'm just going to read this. Expands the exemption of certain steam boilers used for heating purposes located in private residence or in apartment houses of less than 6 families from certain inspection requirements. That's not it. Exempts the following from inspection certification requirements. Unfired pressure vessels contained with an autoclave. Miniature boilers that are integrated components of medical devices regulated by the United States Food and Drug Administration.
All right.
I know where I'm at now. You want me to go back through all that?
No.
Okay. I can do a better job explaining now. Took
Any,
me a minute.
any discussion? Chairman Hawk.
Chairman Hicks, I'm so glad that you're signed on number 2 on this bill, because that performance shows us you may have to carry this forward in the days to come.
Question has been called. All right, question has been called. Objection called the question. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1452, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1452 moves on to full finance. Thank you, Chairman. All right, that brings us to item number 121. Item number 121 is House Bill 594 by Representative Garrett. Do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. Sir, you are recognized on House Bill 594. Representative Garrett.
Oh, I believe we have an amendment.
Representative Garrett, I have for that amendment, it is an untimely filed, so without objection, we will entertain the untimely file without objection. So moved. We are on the amendment. That amendment again is 6930. Is that what you have, sir?
That's right.
All right, we have a motion to second on the amendment. We have a motion to second on the amendment. You're recognized. Let's get the amendment on the bill since it does rewrite it. So any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, seeing none. We're now voting on amendment drafting code 6930 onto House Bill 594. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Back on the bill as amended. You're recognized, Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the reason why this has been amended, it now matches what has traveled through the Senate. So when this went before the budget, it's no longer placing any portion of the entertainment district in Metro in the ABC. What this is doing now is that it's preventing a situation where someone can be doubly fined by like a beer board or a health board. So if there's an issue on the beer board comes out and they fine them for whatever the case may be, they can't also be additionally fined for a health code violation unless the health code comes out there and vice versa. And this does have statewide application. So that's what the amendment does.
All right. Thank you very much, Representative Garrett. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 594. Any discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you say they can't be doubly fined, but if the beer board fines for something separate and apart from what the health department is responsible for, they still can be fined to that end. Is that correct?
Representative Garrett.
Yes, if there is a beer board violation, they of course can be fined by the beer board for whatever violation. It's just if there's something completely unrelated to a beer board violation, the health code will have to come back out there and figure out what happened that violates the health code. They don't automatically have a health code violation too where they're doubly fined.
Leader Camper.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Garrett. No comment? Leader Camper, you finished? I'm sorry.
That's all right, Mr. Chairman. I think I understand what he's trying to do.
Okay. All right. Further discussion on House Bill 594. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 594, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 594 moves to full finance. Brings us to item number 122. Item number 122 is House Bill 976 by Representative Garrett. You have a motion to second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. Mr. Chairman, this is the James Dustin Samples Act. It is one of the firefighters' pieces of legislation that we actually funded, and it will remove the presumption that a firefighter in the course of duty suffers a PTSD injury where they don't have to prove that certain injury is the cause or is work related. So it was funded by our legislation. I'm very pleased about that. And Ms. Samples, also Dustin's widow, is very pleased. So I'm hoping that she'll be down here if I'm lucky enough to get this out of here, that this act, the James Dustin Samples Act, has been funded. So with that, I'll be glad to take any questions.
All right. Thank you, Representative Garrett. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion on House Bill 976? Chairman Williams.
Thank you, sponsor, for the bill. Thank you to the chairman of this committee for funding this bill. I had an opportunity to have one of my firemen come from Cookeville Fire Department visit me 2 or 3 years ago. This was something that would have impacted him greatly had he had the opportunity to do that, was having to pay for counseling services for himself out of his own pocket. This is a great opportunity. It's a large fiscal note in the first year, but what studies have proven that over time, as these individuals get the help that they need, that it's less and less cost over time. And so this is a really important bill for our community. It's really important for us to be able to give mental health and counseling support to those who are trained to run straight headlong into the challenges ahead of them. And so thankful to the committee and the Senate for funding this year, even though we didn't get to do it last year. This is case and proof that stick with it eventually good things happen. So thank you, Chairman.
Well said, Chairman Williams. Representative Garrett, follow up?
Just thank you very much, Chairman Williams, for those words. I think this is a real great piece of legislation. I'm very thankful that it was funded.
All right, further discussion on House Bill 976. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 976, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 976 moves on to full finance. All right. That brings us to item number 126. That is House Bill 794 by Chair Lady Hazelwood. Do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. Chair Lady, I think you have an amendment that rewrites the bill. I have, first of all, it was an untimely filed amendment, so without objection, we will entertain the untimely file. So without objection, so moved. We're back on the amendment. Amendment code again, drafting code 007606. Do you have a motion and a second? We got a motion and a second on the amendment. Chair Lady, let's get this one put on. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none. We're now voting on amendment drafting code 007606 onto House Bill 794. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are back on the bill as amended. Chair Lady Hazelwood, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is the fruition of a lot of work over the summer, and the new drafting code makes it clear that there's the $30. Well, I'm sorry, it's late, and I'm starting in the middle of a paragraph. This bill was put together this summer. There was a study committee of law enforcement. We spent a lot of time, brought together a lot of participants to deal with the issue that we have with the monitoring fund and the fact that the fund is, although it's set up, when set up, it was intended to be self-supporting, has proved not to be, and has continued to be a drain on the state's revenues every year. So we were attempting to find some solutions for that. So the bill, as amended, sets out the ramifications or the ways that the monitoring companies can be repaid. It requires those folks who have the monitoring system to have some skin in the game. They have a monthly minimum that they have to pay. And again, all of that we're doing here is trying to, the other big piece of the bill is to make the more consistent in terms of who has access to this pool of dollars. It was set up to be for the indigent, but the decision or the description or the definition of indigent seems to vary quite a bit across the state when we looked at usage. So again, this legislation is attempting to address those issues and to make the fund, if not self-sustainable, then at least less costly for the state, and also to make sure, again, as I mentioned, that the folks who are, even though they're indigent, everybody can pay something. We think it's only fair. They are getting the benefit of being out of prison and being out in the world, so we think that that ought to be worth some amount of money to them to do that. So we have, as I said, worked over the summer to make this happen, and I hope that we can support that and move this bill forward.
All right, thank you, Chair Lady. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 794. Any discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Chair, you're saying that the judge then would not have the ability to, based on what they see as the person's level of ability to repay, to change this minimum dollar amount that's in this bill. Is that correct?
That's right. The minimum dollar amount is the baseline. The judge would still have the ability to determine indigency. We're just asking that there be a little more in-depth assessment of the defendant's financial status and financial resources before they're declared indigent. But again, it's the cost is $1 a day, so $30 a month is the minimum amount that, or the maximum amount that an indigent person would pay for this. But again, feel that it's important that they have some skin in the game.
Leader Camper.
Thank you. I understand your point and what you're trying to get at, but I have some concerns because there are a lot of people, when they do get out, it takes them time to get in a position where they are employed, and they're paying restitution, they're paying a lot of other fees, and trying to get back on their feet. And I was thinking that the fund was to be able to assist in a way that they could get back, become productive, and go on and get a job and do all the things that we need. But this seems like there'll be pressure on them to have to pay this fee that they may not be in a position to do just coming right out of incarceration. So that's my only concern around that.
Well, I will say that the cost of the system is more than $200 a month. So we are subsidizing, a significant portion. That'll be 15%, only 15% that the defendant is paying. The state is paying 85% of that cost.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, further discussion on House Bill 794. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 794, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 794 moves to full finance. All right, that brings us to item number 29. Item number 29 is House Bill 1036 by Representative Shaw. You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 1036.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may sit here.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. This comes to us from our treasurer. It deals with the issue we had locally, but it's statewide application. And of course, the caption explains what it does, and I stand for any questions.
All right. Thank you, Representative Shaw. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1036. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1036, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1036 moves to full finance. Brings us to item 131, House Bill 1199 by Chairman Williams.
Thank you.
We have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman, members. House Bill 1199 would allow a promise to be kept to a guardsman that enrolled as it relates to Diesel College. I'm happy to answer questions members may have.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Williams, for this description of House Bill 1199. Members, any discussion? Again, we're on House Bill 1199. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1199, moving on to full finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1199 moves to full finance.
Okay, members, we are going to be essentially at the end of the calendar for 3 bills by Chairman Hicks. The first one is House Bill 155. Got a motion and a second on the bill. Chairman Hicks, you're recognized for a description.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, this is a simple bill with a huge impact. House Bill 155 would provide an $800 training supplement for licensed emergency medical personnel who are employed full-time for an ambulance service upon completion of 40 hours of annual training.
Okay, you've heard the explanation. Are there any questions, discussion? If not, then we are voting to send House Bill 155 to full finance. All in favor say aye. Oppose? Goes to full finance. Item 133 on the calendar is House Bill 961, also by Chairman Hicks. We've got a motion and a second. Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
All right, thank you very much. Members, in 2014, we passed the Brian Burge Act that allowed for full and part-time employees that work in our TBR institutions to attend one free course consisting of no more than 4 credit hours or 120 clock hours per term at the community college or TCAT at which they are employed, as long as space is available in that course. Unfortunately, this law did not cover our adjunct faculty that help us fill teaching needs at our institutions, and this bill would extend the same benefits offered to other full and part-time employees to our adjunct faculty.
With that explanation, are there any questions, discussion? If not, then we're voting to send House Bill 961 to full finance. All in favor say aye. Opposed? goes to full finance. And item 134 on your calendar is House Bill 1431, also by Chairman Hicks. Got a motion and a second. Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Members, House Bill 1431 increases the pay schedule for assistant district attorney generals and criminal investigators, as well as full-time assistant district public defenders and full-time district investigators who were hired on and after July 1st, 1994.
Any questions? Discussion? Question's been called. We are voting to send House Bill 1431 to full finance. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Goes to full finance.
Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Full Finance will meet here in this room at 5:35. 5:35 here in House Hearing Room 1 for all of those Full Finance members who are not in the room. We need you here in 30 minutes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chair Lady. Members, I think that completes our work that we had for today. So without objection, we will recess until tomorrow. So without objection, we're recessed.
Jeff is losing